Some of my other videos using a specific gravity tester, test individual cells. Almost nobody does that anymore, but it was taught to me by Interstate Battery, and I think it's something good to know how to do. Okay, be careful too, you don't want to get too stupid with it, because you can get cracked clamps, and then that just completely screws you. And basically it's like a plastic coating, from what I've noticed with it, and it helps keep the air off of the battery terminal. And I like to clean it up a little bit. I don't like it all over the battery itself. Just want it on the post, and you don't really want to put it on ahead of time either, because like I said, it's almost like a plastic coating. Now, should start right up. Look at that. That seems pretty good to me. Let's go over here. It's kind of convenient. They've got a whole house transfer switch here. This makes it easy for me to test the transfer switch, make sure that it's working properly. I'm always leery about just verifying that it starts and nothing else. Really is a good practice to make sure that the transfer switch works. The way I do it, which the factory does not recommend it, is I pull the fuses. That way it transfers over and back without killing power to the house in advance. Looks like that's missing. That's great. Probably be nice if that was in there. Otherwise, those things eventually could fall out. Let's see if we can make this work. I haven't tried this before. Just thinking of using duct tape because it'd be a little stronger, but duct tape probably cause more people to be pissy about it because it might catch on fire, might be conductive. So let's see if we can make the electrical tape work. If all I did was generators, I would probably have this on my truck. But like I've mentioned many times, I'm an HVAC technician, HVACR technician. I do a little of everything under the sun. There we go. It's better than what it was, let's put it that way. And it's not as tight as good as I want, but it's in there. All right, so we need to pull that fuse, and you can tell right here, somebody used thermostat wire. Thermostat wire is not rated for 250 volts. It's rated for low voltage only. Whoever installed this broke code. I believe I got it recorded. So we just ran the generator and tested and verified that we had the proper frequency and voltage before we do this test that I'm about ready to do. The way this works is we got a transfer relay here, transfer switch relay. The relay controls the high voltage. When the generator senses the voltage dropped, the generator sends 12 volts DC over to the transfer switch. The 194 is a constant 12 volts, always there. Like right now, if I go from that 12 volts to ground, you've got 9 volts, which because they're not really tied together and ground-wise, they're not bonded, that's why you're getting that weirdo stuff. If you go to the negative, you've got 12.4 volts, which is battery voltage. That negative is always there. Now, when you switch over to the 23 terminal, which is switching negative, meaning it grounds itself when it wants to transfer, that's going to energize when the transfer switch is calling. So when we pull this fuse up on top, which the factory does not recommend doing it this way, and it is dangerous if you're not using the right tools and you're not careful, you could get shocked or killed. So you don't want to do these sort of things. None of these videos are for instructional purposes. They're all here for entertainment. That way I'm not liable for any stupidity because everyone's got different levels. And unfortunately, there's some stupid people that don't realize they're stupid, and unfortunately they get killed or hurt, and then they want to sue somebody for it, or their family wants to sue them. We're going to measure 12 volts DC here in a minute. Once we pull this fuse, the generator is going to count down. Usually sometimes it's about 10 seconds, some are less, some are more. And it will energize 12 volts here in a second, and you'll hear it transfer over. 10 volts, probably because we got such small wires, 18 gauge, not too impressed. Going to let them know that that needs to be changed. So that's the DC voltage, that's switched, as I showed you. Here is the AC output from the generator. We're at 242. Still holding right in there at 60 hertz. Good to go on that. It transferred over to the generator. Now we're gonna make sure it transfers back. There we go. Put the fuse back in there. The fuse puller I'm using here is a 34-001 from Ideal Industries. It's rated for 250 volts, 30 amps. All right, just switched back. We're good to go there. Utility, 242 also. And right in at 59.99, just almost perfectly 60 hertz. Careful putting this on, you can accidentally drop it into the panel. There is a manual transfer here if your transfer switch was damaged. However, I will warn you, if you have power on both sides, it will yank this back out of your hand and potentially throw it through your face. Not real keen on that. As long as the power's out, not a big deal. The generic way to do this, flip that off, and it will cause it to transfer over just like I did. That would be the easiest way for somebody that doesn't really know what they're doing, don't know, don't want to take a chance of getting hurt. That's the safest way to do it. But this isn't my house, so I'm not going to do that and cause possibly clocks to go out. Something important could be running, cause problems there. I don't like dealing with all that. And like I said, at this time, I'd already checked the oil, made sure the oil levels were fine. I made sure that the generator was producing the voltage that was in a safe level so I don't damage anything inside the house. That's pretty much it for this particular task. Now, if you're wanting to avoid a lot of these problems, I did a video on how to maintain your generator. I'll link that up here in the top, along with possibly some other videos that I've done. The generators, for the most part, nowadays are a lot better than what they used to be. The older ones had a lot of issues. Like I said, we can look around for oil leakage, things like that, which, you can see that they've had a little bit from when the guys have changed the oil. System's ready to run. You can go through here and we can reset things, check things. There's a code here that we need. I've shown what I carry inside my little tool bag here. It's just got basics of what I need most of the time. Nothing fancy. They're cheap tools, Stanleys, things like that. I don't like putting a lot of money into something I hardly ever use anymore. That way, also, if I lose it, not a big deal. I just don't do many generators anymore. I used to do a bunch, and now I don't. And I like doing refrigeration and stuff a lot better, so my desire to learn it and continue with it just is not there. But unfortunately, no one else's desire is there either. I made sure everything's tight, make sure all the spark plugs are all on, all those normal things there that you want to make sure of. We'll just make sure everything's reset. That way the guy doesn't get a code here shortly about checking the battery, which is yellow light on these. On the outside corner of this has green, yellow, and red. Red means it's not going to run. Yellow means a warning that, hey, it's time to check things over. We got a lot of calls for that. Here's some of the books I got. Liquid cooled. This is one I thought was 250,000. Maybe it's 150,000 that I went through. And then some of the old books that they don't give you. You have to literally use the digital copy, which I hate. Here's all my fast checks for fixed excitation to make things a little easier. And then your core power, these things here are total garbage. Yeah, last time I went through it was Columbus in 18. Been meaning to do this for a while, but I went ahead and put the code there. Have it on my notepad. I made a tiny, tiny one that I'm gonna hide inside the unit, which, because a lot of the guys, a good majority of them, haven't been to class on this and they just do the maintenance. This will make it so they can easily remember the code to reset the maintenance so that I'm not getting called out a week later that the yellow light's on. Okay, now we can go down to submenus, go down to dealer. We can display the voltage, 13.6, couldn't see that before. Get dealer edit, start delay, run hours, got 51 hours on it. The dropout and pickup and current and all that happy jazz. Reset maintenance, yes. Now on the test, you can put it in test and you can actually watch to see what's going on. I have other videos that show this sort of thing. Now you can go into submenus and go to maintenance, and here's your run hours, and you've got your maintenance log. So now it's been reset. Prior to that, look, service B schedules, it hadn't been reset. People have just been, nobody's ever reset it. Scheduled, next maintenance, 200 hours or next year. So now we're good to go. And I got a sticker here for the battery. We'll go ahead and stick that on the battery so we know when it was installed. Sometimes I use marker, sometimes I use my labeler. It just depends on how excited I am for the day. So I'll go ahead and stick that on there right there. I usually put on there, check the water levels and things like that, and we'll put that sticker down here in the side. And that way, unless he's poking in here, he's not going to notice that. Or actually, we could put it right down here. Tell you what, that way the guys can at least see it that's there. And it's small enough that you have to know what you're looking for. You have to understand what that is. So big thing here, guys, remember that it is on auto mode. Don't hurt to check date and time, make sure that's correct. So we're good there. So this generator is ready to roll. Now I've explained a couple times on how to do this door. Several people don't understand it. You can see this pin right here that's partially bent. It's flimsy aluminum. And you have these flimsy little hooks here. People bend the snot out of them all the time. The way I do it is I hook the bottom ones first, bring it up. Those little hook jobs there hit it. So now I put my knees gently against it, lift up just enough that you're past those hooks, and pop it in, pop it down. She's locked into place. We're on auto. The customer did not lock it before. So that wraps that up, guys. Well, if you guys enjoyed the video and you want to see more like it, there's other videos that you can click on the link. I'll put them all in a playlist that says generators, and you can check them all out. I thank you for watching, and until next time, we'll catch you on the next one. Later.